In 1534, Japan was in the midst of the Sengoku period. However, from this chaos, a man would emerge who would forever change the course of Japanese history. His name was Oda Nobunaga. He was not just a warring states general, he was a revolutionary who ended Japan's medieval period and opened the door to modernity. Chapter 1. The Youth of the Great Fool. The story of Nobunaga actually begins with disappointment. In his youth, Nobunaga was called the Great Fool of Owari. Fool means a foolish person or someone who is useless. He walked around the castle town in an extravagant outfit, eating persimmons while standing and walking with his arm around his retainer. It was an outrageous behavior that was unimaginable in the samurai society of that time. When his father, Oda Nobunaga, passed away, it is said that Nobunaga threw incense onto the Buddhist altar during the funeral. The attendees were shocked. Is it really okay to let this young man inherit the family headship? However, this is where Nobunaga's true nature is hidden. He was performing. He made those around him let their guard down and hid his true abilities. His vassal, Hirate Masahide, committed suicide to admonish Nobunaga for his strange behavior. But after his death, Nobunaga built a magnificent temple in Masahide's honor. He was not a psychopath devoid of emotions. Rather, he was a person who thought more rationally than anyone else. Chapter 2. The Battle of Okehazama, a tactic that shattered common sense. In 1560, Nobunaga was 26 years old. Imagawa Yoshimoto invaded Owari. With an army of 25,000, Nobunaga's army consisted of only 3,000 men. A normal general would likely take refuge in a castle. However, Nobunaga was different. After performing Atsumori, he sets out for battle. Then he executed a strategy that no one had anticipated. It was not a frontal assault, but a surprise attack on the Imagawa headquarters. What is important is that Nobunaga understood the information warfare. He used spies to grasp the movements of the Imagawa army, and at that very moment, he aimed for the moment when Imagawa Yoshimoto was resting at Okehazama. Amidst the heavy rain, Imagawa Yoshimoto has been defeated. This victory was not just a matter of luck. It was a testament to Nobunaga's to reject traditional methods of warfare, analyze the situation calmly, and take calculated risks. Chapter 3. Nobunaga as a revolutionary. After the Battle of Okehazama, Nobunaga implemented a series of innovative reforms, free market and free guilds. Until now, commerce had been monopolized by the privileged class. Nobunaga abolished this system, allowing anyone to engage in business freely. This was the introduction of a free market economy in Japan 500 years ago. Mass adoption of firearms. At that time, firearms were expensive, and many warlords valued traditional swords and spears. However, in the Battle of Nagashino in 1575, Nobunaga prepared 3,000 guns and completely crushed Takeda Katsuyori's strongest cavalry army with an innovative tactic called three-stage firing. What is interesting here is that Nobunaga himself comes from a family that values the traditions of the samurai. However, he chose efficiency over tradition. This was an extremely unconventional way of thinking in Japanese society at the time. Challenging the class system, Nobunaga evaluated people based on their abilities rather than their origins. Although Hideyoshi was originally a farmer, Nobunaga recognized his talent and promoted him to a high-ranking minister. Mitsuhide Akechi was also a ronin, but he was appointed because of his knowledge and abilities. However, this also reveals the contradictions in Nobunaga. He was a rationalist, yet he also had an emotional side. Chapter 4. The Darkness of Nobunaga. In 1571, Nobunaga attacked and burned down the Enryakuji Temple on Mount Hiei. Mount Hiei is the headquarters of Japanese Buddhism, with a history spanning over 1,000 years. However, the warrior monks there had allied with Nobunaga's opposing forces. Nobunaga's actions were thorough. It is said that he surrounded the entire mountain, burned down temples, and killed thousands, including monks, women, and children. This act shocked the people of that time. Nobunaga is an enemy of Buddhism, and he is a demon king. However, from Nobunaga's perspective, this was also a rational judgment. Religious forces interfere with secular power and participate in wars armed. Then, that is not a religion, but a political force. Therefore, there is no need for mercy. Nobunaga referred to himself as the demon king of the sixth heaven. In Buddhism, the sixth heaven demon king is a devil that hinders the teachings of the Buddha. He advanced reforms knowing full well that he would be seen as evil. Here, we can see Nobunaga's loneliness. He continued on the path he believed in, knowing that he would not be understood. Chapter 5. The Incident at Honnoji. The end on June 2nd, 1582. Nobunaga, at Honnoji in Kyoto, was staying with only a few attendants. At dawn, suddenly, an army surrounds Honnoji. A rebellion? Whose scheme is it? It appears to be Akechi Mitsuhide. Why did Mitsuhide start the rebellion? This is one of the greatest mysteries in Japanese history. One theory suggests that he could no longer endure the repeated insults from Nobunaga. Another theory is that it was a conspiracy by conservative forces who felt threatened by Nobunaga's radical reforms. Nobunaga fought until the end, but it is said that he took his own life amidst overwhelming odds and flames. He was 49 years old. His body was never found. Nobunaga was unable to achieve the unification of Japan. However, the reforms he initiated were completed by Hideyoshi and Ieyasu. He was a destroyer. However, from that destruction, a new Japan was born, Oda Nobunaga. He may have been a man who looked 500 years ahead of his time. And even today, his way of life challenges us. Which will you choose, tradition or innovation? Should you follow the path you believe is right, even if it is not understood? That is the greatest question left by Nobunaga,